If earlier on in the week you watched my video about how to get your alt army ready in terms of all your scribes so you can start pumping out Dark Moon cards as soon as we get into Mist of Pandaria, then there's something you need to be aware of, because the more scribes you've got, of course, the more output in terms of cards you can make, because each character can only make one daily cooldown a day, and that daily cooldown is required to make one Dark Moon card. But that's not it. It's not just the daily cooldown you need. Now, firstly, the good thing is you can stock up on those daily cooldowns, so there's absolutely no need to be crafting one card a day. You just need to make sure you're using your daily cooldown. Once you're up to 15, 20, you might want to just send it a load of herbs, mill them all, and then just make 15, 20 cards all at once, which is obviously absolutely fine. So there's kind of no rush to get ridiculous amounts of herbs instantly to start making cards, as long as you've got enough just to maintain your daily cooldown. Now, the daily cooldown is only 3 of the smaller inks. Now, I've been doing some testing, and whilst there's lots of variables involved in this, and I know everyone's experience will differ slightly, I've been looking at roughly how many stacks of herbs I'm going to need per character, how that'll equate into time spent out herbing myself, and of course, some of it will be subsidized with gold. Because for those of you that have got multiple scribes, even any more than 3, to be honest with you, it's quite a time investment every single day to be going out herbing. So firstly, when it comes to the herbs, you've got things like green tea leaf all the way up to snow lily, which are, let's call, lesser herbs. Because when you mill these, on average, you're probably going to have to mill 8 or 9 stacks to actually be able to get enough materials to make one card. Now, it's fairly well known amongst people who play private servers that Fool's Cap is the way to go. Now, Fool's Cap is primarily farmed in Townlong Steppes and Dread Wastes. I personally farm it all in Dread Wastes, just going between this lake here and then over to the shore where there's actually tons of the stuff. Firstly, before you even go out herbing, engineers can make an item called Mist Piercing Goggles. Now, these goggles allow you to see herbs that you wouldn't ordinarily see if you didn't have them. You don't need to have them equipped, you only need to have them in your bag, but you can see here that this herb, if I didn't actually have these goggles in my bag, I wouldn't have been able to see it, because you can see sort of the misty effect that's round it. You don't get tons of extra herbs, but it's like 8 to 10% more herbs when you're out farming. I personally seem to see a lot of these, and everyone you see, you know, the amount of gold that you spent on your mist piercing goggles is starting to pay off. Now, milling Fool's Cap, ordinarily you can get enough materials to make one Dark Moon card from 5 stacks. From the first 5 stacks I've done, or 100 herbs, I got 11 Starlight ink, which you only need 10 to make a card, and then 28 Inca Dreams. Now, the Inca Dreams is what you use for your daily cooldown, and you only need 3 of these. So just out of 5 stacks, I got enough to make 1 card and 9 daily cooldowns, which I could share across my alts. The next set of 5 I done, I only had 7 Starlight ink and 31 Inca the Dreams, which you can trade the Inca the Dreams in, and you can trade 10 in for 1 Starlight ink. So still with these, with trading the inks in, I'd have enough to make 1 card. Another sample was 10 Starlight ink and 28 Inca the Dreams, so again, enough to make a card and also go towards some daily cooldowns. Now, where it gets rough is when you start doing green tea leaf, rain poppy, or even snow lily. In general, when you mill 5 stacks, you might be about 60% of the way to making a card, sometimes about 70%. So on average, what I was finding was 8 to 9 stacks of anything that's not Fool's Cap was enough to make a card. If it is Fool's Cap, I could almost guarantee that with 5 stacks, I was making a card. And then when it comes to actually herbing, so as I've already said, you're going to want your mist piercing goggles, and my go-to spot is in Dread Wastes. Now, this is where big variables come in. Do you play on a server where there's lots of bots? What are the spawn rate of these herbs on classic servers versus private servers, or even historically back in Mist of Pandaria? And what route do you take? Are you using Gatherer or other add-ons like Farm HUD? And how much attention are you actually paying while you're running round herbing? If you're watching Netflix like I normally am when I'm farming, I probably miss herbs, or people get herbs before me, because I'm not paying too much attention. But I went out and done a little test, and it took me about 15 minutes to be able to get 5 stacks. In fact, in 15 minutes, I didn't quite have 5 stacks, but with a little bit of luck, that would have been enough to make 1 card. So for those that herb more efficiently than I do, you might do it in 12 minutes. For those less efficient than me that actually spend more time watching Netflix than looking at their screen, it might take 20, 22 minutes. But if we was just to use mine as an average and say 15 minutes to get 5 stacks of herbs, that's 15 minutes of herbing for every single scribe you've got. Now, that's actually quite a lot when you think about you're going to need that every single day. Even if you've only got 4 scribes, that's a full hour of herbing every single day just to be able to use your daily cooldown and make cards. For those of us that have got 9, 10, now that's a lot of farming. I'm under no illusion that you're going to be doing all this farming yourself, and there'll be plenty of you that have got tons and tons of gold and you'll just be buying loads of herbs off the auction house, which, I'll be honest with you, that's what the majority of our guild are going to do, because maintaining this for weeks or even months is probably pretty unrealistic without investing gold back in. But the good thing is, when you're actually out herbing and doing it yourself, you're going to get golden lotus, which if you've got an alchemist, you can use to make flasks and then sell the flasks to buy more herbs to mill. You could even be buying herbs off of the auction house and then crafting cards, and when you get a good card, like a Tiger's card for example, you might sell it for a few thousand gold, keep a couple of thousand gold for yourself, spend 1,000 gold on herbs. So there's going to be plenty of ways either from farming yourself where you can actually make extra gold to be able to buy more herbs, or when you're actually making the cards to be able to use some of the profit on buying more herbs to keep the daily cooldowns flowing and keep the cards being made flowing. Now, while I know this wasn't a super in-depth video, I don't see the point of getting too much into the actual numbers before we see exactly how it is when the beta goes up or over the course of the beta. But this was just to give you an idea on how much time it's going to take just to be able to use a daily cooldown and actually make a card each day. If some of this was lost on you because you're not quite sure what all of this means when it comes to inscription, check this video out here. This will give you a good breakdown of all the professions that you should really be getting ready now before Mr. Pandaria even comes out. And if you want a level scribe, I'll put a link in the description to a guide that I personally put together. It does rely on you having a max level scribe already, using max level herbs, milling them and crafting them into inks and then trading the inks down. It means you can max inscription on an alt in about 15 minutes. But as always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will be carefully updating on this over the next few months while we are on the beta, which at this moment in time we haven't actually got a date yet, but I am expecting it very soon. Consider joining the channel as a member, check out the merch store, link in the description, and I'll see you on the next one.